Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Pheno Field. Milford has taken the field of play, and Dan Avery about to go into his warm-up tosses. The pitching matchup for this game, Dan Avery getting his second start of these 2014 playoffs. He is opposed on the Wachusett side by Tanyan Ventris. Dan not quite up to his normal otherworldly standards in his first game in these playoffs back last week against Leominster. He pitched back on July 15th. That was the date for game number 1 of the semifinals. He ended up only going 5 innings in that game. He allowed 4 earned runs on 9 hits. He walked 1 and did not have a strikeout. So not the typical numbers, but it was still good enough to get Milford the win as the offense was out there in support of Avery. You remember in that game, Dan ended up allowing all 9 Leominster batters to come to the plate in the 3rd inning. They scored 4 times to take an early 4-0 lead, but that was quickly erased as the Milford bats were able to score 5 runs of their own in the bottom third of that, the bottom half of that inning, I should say, and they did not look back from there and ended up being a 10-4 win. They won game number 2 by a final score of 8-5. That game tightened up a little bit at the end, but it was a sweep for Post 59, and that is how they earned their spot here in the finals. So Avery looking for a little bit better returns here in his second start of the playoffs, but still overall the numbers for Avery this season have been phenomenal. He had a sub-1 ERA for the bulk of the regular season, and into that playoff game it jumped just over 1 after giving up those 4 runs against Leominster. But he is about ready to throw pitch number 1 here of the Zone 4 finals, as now Connor Gill steps in to the right side batter's box. Dan Avery into his windup, and pitch number 1 is driven in the air out to left center field. Kevin Lynch and Matt DeCina converge, but it's Lynch who makes the catch, and after just 1 pitch, Dan Avery has out number 1 of his outing. Defensively for Post 59, it's Michael Ryan behind the plate with Kevin Martinez at first, Joe White at second, Dan Mantoni at short, and Andrew McMillan at third. Left to right in the outfield, it is Matt DeCina, Kevin Lynch, and Cam Cosette. As Avery's first pitch into the second baseman, Jordan Tevens, misses outside for a ball. Avery working quick as always. Tevens now sends this pitch high off the backstop to even the count at 1 ball and 1 strike. Before we get any further into the game, after this next pitch, we will tell you the game time temperature. This one is swung on and hit out to right field down the line. A run over towards the line for Cam Cosette, but he is able to make the catch. 2 up and 2 down here in the top of the first inning, and now we will bring you that game time temperature, which of course is brought to you by Green Street Auto Spa, and it right now is 72 degrees in the Milford area. It was a picture-perfect summer day here today, not too hot, bright sunny skies, and it continues to be very comfortable here in the late afternoon into early evening hours in Milford. The fans continuing to file in here to Pheno Field to watch what could potentially be the final game of the year here, as the count now goes to 1 ball and 1 strike against Dan Jancour, the 3rd baseman. Of course, there is no more intrastate sectional round, which means that at the conclusion of this finals matchup, we will next see play in the state tournament, which will then decide the representative of Massachusetts to move on to the Northeast Regionals. So should this series not go the full 3 games, this could be the last home game for Milford of the season. Meanwhile, Jancour hits a ground ball to shortstop. It's fielded there cleanly by Dan Mantoni. He fires to first, and it is a 1-2-3 top of the first inning for Dan Avery. The home team about to take their first swings of the night when we return here on playoff coverage of Milford Legion Baseball on First Class Radio.
Now batting over number 9, Matt DeCina.
Back here at Pheno Field, Wachusett going quickly in the top half of this inning, so right on to the bottom of the first we go. It will be DeCina, McMillan, and Mantoni coming up, and anyone gets on, and the big bat of Kevin Martinez will stride to the plate. And the first pitch in from Tanyan Ventris to Matt DeCina narrowly misses the outside corner for ball number 1. Ventris, a left-handed thrower, so he will see a steady diet of lefty batters in this Milford lineup. The count even now at 1 ball and 1 strike. Ventris, also a quick worker, has now Matt Tessina sends a looping fly ball just up over the head of the pitcher, as well as the shortstop Connor Gill. It tails out into shallow left center field, and Tessina has himself a leadoff single. Fans filling up much of the bleachers now behind the plate and also down the first base line and into the area in front of the Pheno Field concession stand. So an excellent crowd on hand to watch this first game of the finals, as now Andrew McMillan comes to the plate. He takes a called strike one. Andrew McMillan with a very impressive performance in the semifinal round of these playoffs. He sends a fly ball foul and out of play off to the left, and he's quickly down in the count, 0-2. Andrew McMillan going 4 for 5 in the Zone 4 semifinals. He had a double, 3 walks, and an RBI. Also scored 4 runs. The 0-2 pitch is hit in the air out to center field, but Whitmer seems to have it sized up, wanders a little bit towards left center field, but he makes the catch. And that is the first out here in the bottom of the first inning. That brings up Dan Mantoni. Meanwhile, defensively for Post 42, it is Cam Ruziak behind the plate, with Dan Jankura at third, Connor Gill at short, Jordan Tevens at second, and Owen Gibbons at first. Left to right in the outfield, Tim Post, Kevin Whitmer, and Eric Sachs, all in support of their starting pitcher, Tanyan Ventress. Ventress's first pitch into Dan Mantoni, missed for ball 1. Mantoni now sends a ground ball foul towards the backstop to even the count at 1. Just 2 hits for Mantoni in the semifinal round, but he did have a couple of runs batted in and 4 runs scored, so he continued to find a way to get on base and score runs for this Milford offense, who scored a total of 18 in their 2 games against Leominster. They have Matt Tessina picked off, the throw down to second base, the slide, and Tessina is going to be out. He was going on first movement from Ventress, and he sent the pickoff throw over to first, and Gibbons was able to get it down quickly to the shortstop covering the second base bag. Tessina tried to slide around the tag, but he is out. Caught stealing here, and now all of a sudden there are 2 outs and the bases are empty for Mantoni, who now takes a breaking ball that stays outside to bring the count to 2-1. Ventress now operating out of the full windup again with the bases clear. This pitch is fouled away off to the right and out of play. The count stays 1 ball and 2 strikes. Mantoni in tight on that right side batter's box. Here's the next pitch from Ventress. It's chopped on the ground towards third base. Jankura makes the play. The throw over gets to first base in time to record the out that ends the inning. So a caught stealing cuts a potential rally short for Milford. We're through with 1 now from Pheno Field. We're still scoreless between Post 59 and Post 42 here on WMRC First Class Radio. Tim Coet back with you on the call for Milford Legion Baseball on First Class Radio. Neither side scoring in the first inning, so right on to inning number 2. Turning to bunt was the catcher Cam Ruziak to open things up in the top of the second. He pulls the bat back and takes a ball from Dan Avery, who was right back into his windup. His next pitch is swung on and missed. That evens the count at 1-1. Ruziak up there on the right side, takes a called strike, now down in the count, 1-2. Was the starting catcher when these 2 teams met last, had a couple of hits and a run batted in. He waves and misses at the 1-2 offering from Avery. Down on strikes to open the top of the second inning. It's the first strikeout of the game and the first strikeout of the playoffs for Dan Avery. Avery looking very comfortable here in the early stages of this ball game. So with 1 out and the bases clear, here comes Owen Gibbons. Gibbons very impressive on the mound earlier this season. He takes a nasty pitch from Dan Avery at the knees for a called strike 1. Gibbons pitched 6 2/3 innings against Milford. back on June 18th. Now down in the count, 0-2. He ended up allowing 3 runs in the game. Those runners allowed to score. And thanks to relief pitcher Eric Sachs, who came in, a couple of inherited runners were allowed to come in. Milford ended up cutting that lead to 5-4, but while Gibbons was in there, he was very impressive. He swings and misses at strike 3. The ball briefly gets away from Michael Ryan. He completes the putout over at first base. That's now back-to-back Ks for Dan Avery to open the top of the second inning, 2 outs. And now here is Avery's counterpart, the starting pitcher for Wachusett tonight, Tanyan Ventris. First pitch of the at-bat into Ventris. That misses low for ball 1. The 1-0 pitch hit up over the backstop, over the press box and out of play. And the count evens at 1-1 to Tanyan Ventris. Avery ready with the next pitch. Here it comes. This is hit on the ground towards third, slowly fielded by McMillan, but it pops out of the glove, and Ventris will reach. Took a tricky hop at the last moment on Andrew McMillan. Ended up bouncing up off the shoulder, and behind him it was backed up by Mantoni, but Ventris will reach. That is the first base runner of the game for post 42, and it allows the left fielder Tim Post to come to the plate. Post 17 years old, listed at 6'1", 155 pounds. He will be a senior this fall at Wachusett Regional High School. Takes the first pitch outside from Avery, who will now work out of the stretch for the first time tonight. 1-0 the count. It's a scoreless game here at Pheno Field. 2 outs and a man on here in the second inning for Wachusett, and now this ball is hit just over the extended glove of Dan Mantoni out into shallow left center. So it's a base hit for Post. And what could have been a 1-2-3 inning for Avery will now extend further. Wachusett with men on first and second, and now Eric Sachs, the right fielder, coming to the plate. Certainly a point in the year where if you give teams extra outs to work with, they will take advantage. So Dan Avery trying to prove the error to be harmless. Deals a first pitch strike into Sachs. Now the 0-1 pitch is waved at and missed. Sachs chasing a pitch off the outside edge, and now down in the count, 0-2. 2 outs in this top of the second inning. Runners leading off of first and second for Wachusett. Avery takes a quick check down to second base, now deals a pitch up and away for a ball, trying to get Sachs to chase. Count now 1-2. Avery ready with another pitch, and it's in there on the inside corner for a called strike 3. Sachs doesn't like it, but he takes with him the 3rd strikeout of the inning for Dan Avery. He strands 2 runners on base. We head to the bottom of the second inning now, still scoreless at Pheno, with playoff coverage of Milford Legion baseball here on First Class Radio. Bottom of the second inning now here from Pheno Field. Tanyan Ventris back on the mound. Kevin Martinez leading it off, getting a big cheer from the hometown crowd. They know what he did the last time Milford took the field. 3 for 4 in that clinching game against Leominster. A double, 2 home runs, and 6 runs batted in. Up there with a count of 1 ball and 1 strike against the lefty Ventris, who allowed a leadoff single last inning, but that runner was quickly erased on a caught stealing. Decina picked off as now Kevin Martinez pops one up out into shallow right field down the line. Ranging out was the first baseman and second baseman, but it was Sachs, the right fielder, who was able to make the catch, and a very big out as Martinez is retired to lead things off here in the second. And now here is Joe White, starting another game at second base for Milford. He swings at the first pitch and grounds it past second base. Tevens into the dive at second to try to reel it in, but it got past him and out into right. It's the second hit for Post 59 as White is aboard here with one down. That brings up Michael Ryan. Ryan had 4 runs batted in the semifinal round. Michael Ryan and Kevin Martinez, a pretty formidable duo in game number 2 up at Pincanavino Field this past Thursday. Martinez with 6 runs batted in. And Michael Ryan with 2. An RBI single and also a sac fly for Ryan in that game. He's ahead in the count here, 1 ball and no strikes after a pickoff check on Joe White over at first. Now the 1-0 pitch is swung on and missed. Wachusett wearing black jerseys with teal lettering and white caps. It's a new look for Wachusett. I believe that I heard Coach Tidman say prior to the game that these are brand new uniforms for the playoffs. A 1-2 pitch on the way to Michael Ryan. It's fouled to the backstop. And the count remains 1-2. Milford, of course, in their customary home gold jerseys with navy lettering. 1 ball and 2 strikes with 1 out in the inning. Here's the pitch to Ryan. It's hit on the ground down the first base line, but it kicks foul. Owen Gibbons, the Wachusett first baseman, making sure it remained foul. And the count remains 1-2. Joe White retreats to the first base bag. Still waiting for our first run to cross the plate here in these Zone 4 finals. It's another best-of-3 series. Here's the 1-2 pitch now. It's popped up foul. It'll again make its way out of play. Both of these teams only needed 2 games to dispatch their opponent in the semifinal round. And as you heard Coach Tidman say in his interview prior to the game, a walk-off win, pretty dramatic for Wachusett in their deciding game against Grafton Hill, as now Tanyan Ventris drops in a called strike 3, a breaking ball that hugged the inside edge. Ryan down on strikes. It's the first K for Ventris in his outing. There are 2 outs now in the bottom of the second, and up for the first time tonight comes Cam Cosette. Cam was awarded with the win in that game against Leominster on Thursday, as he came in to pitch 2 innings in relief after 4 innings to start the game by Kevin Martinez, not qualifying for the win. Cam pitching 2 scoreless innings. 1-0 pitch now. This is hit on the ground through the right side for a base hit. Joe White having to hop over that ball as it made its way through the infield. He makes it to second base safely. 2 singles now in the inning for Milford. They have 2 aboard with 2 outs. And a chance now for Blake Hill, making his first appearance of these 2014 playoffs. We saw Mike Caffarella as the designated hitter in game 1 against Leominster. Milford did not utilize a DH in game 2. But the lefty Hill up there at the plate now against the lefty throwing Ventris, and he takes a called strike on the outside corner. Blake Hill, a solid contributor in this regular season in 2014. Count now even at 1-1. Blake Hill batted .279 in the regular season, 12 hits in 43 at-bats. He had a couple of doubles, 3 runs batted in. He also walked 8 times and had 4 stolen bases. 2 balls and 1 strike now the count. Blake also with 6 appearances out of the bullpen and carried an earned run average of 3.04. He fouls a pitch to the backstop, and now the count 2 balls and 2 strikes with 2 outs and 2 men aboard for Milford. Joe White will now take his lead off of second base. Cam Cosette off of first. Here is the pitch from Tanyan Ventris, and it's down low. And that will fill up the count, so now the runners will have a chance to get a head start. Kevin Lynch hoping for an opportunity to bat. He waits on deck. The runners go. The 3-2 pitch is hit on the ground to shortstop, fielded by Connor Gill. He throws to second, and they get the out. Sliding in was Cosette. He was off with the pitch. He was on second base in a hurry. No argument from Coach DeVito. So they are just barely able to get the force play at second base that ends the inning. So Milford strands a couple of more runners on base, and we are through now 2 innings of play. Still waiting for our first run between Milford and Wachusett here on WMRC First Class Radio. Dan Avery wasting no time getting this top of the 3rd inning started, facing the number 9 hitter in the Wachusett order, Kevin Whitmer, who promptly hits a line drive to first base, but right into the glove of Kevin Martinez. So a line out to first base on the first pitch of this 3rd inning, and now that turns the lineup over. Second time through now for Wachusett, and Connor Gill takes a called strike 1. Dan Avery in good position pitch count-wise, just 27 pitches thrown to this point in the game. As the count now goes to 1-1 to Connor Gill. He flied out to center field to open up the ball game. And now the count going to 1 ball and 2 strikes. Avery steering in now for the sign from Michael Ryan before delivering a swinging strike 3. Avery making quick work of Connor Gill. 2 up and 2 down here in the 3rd inning. And that's now 4 strikeouts in the game for Dan Avery after failing to record a single strikeout against Leominster here early last week. And now Avery delivering a called strike 1 into Jordan Tevens, the second baseman. Ready with the 0-1 pitch. It's hit on the ground to shortstop, ranging over is Mantoni. He throws off balance to first base, and it's not there in time. Mantoni couldn't get as much on that throw as he would have liked. He had to get it to first base on 1 bounce. Martinez dug it out on the back end, but Tevens was able to beat it out, so he will reach on an infield single. That's now just the 2nd hit of the game for Wachusett, but it will extend the inning now for Dan Jankura, the 3rd baseman, who takes a called strike 1. Avery really hitting the corners in these early innings. Ready with his 0-1 pitch now. It's hit on the ground to the right side and through for a base hit. So a similar situation developing here in the 3rd that we saw in the 2nd. 2 quick outs, but a close play allowing the inning to continue, and now a base hit. Furthering matters even more now. Wachusett with runners at first and second base after the infield single to Tevens. Now the single through the right side for Jankura. And a chance for Cam Ruziak, the catcher and cleanup hitter. He struck out swinging back in the 2nd inning. Swings at the first pitch, hits it in the air, out to the gap in right center field. This is deep. It's going to get down for a base hit, and it's going to roll towards the wall. 1 run is in. They'll wave a second man to the plate. He will score without a throw. Tevens and Jankura both come around to score on an RBI triple for Cam Ruziak, and Wachusett is able to take the 2-0 lead. Well, this developed in a hurry for Dan Avery, making very quick work of Whitmer and Gill to open up the inning. But Jordan Tevens able to leg out that infield single. It made all this possible, and Jankura and Ruziak now with back-to-back hits. They're going to check over at first base to see if everything was on the up and up in terms of Wachusett's base running. It was indeed. So now a runner at third with 2 outs, and Gibbons aggressively swinging at the first pitch, and this is a little bit of a model we've started to see against Dan Avery for these last few opponents. A lot of swings early on in the count. That is what we saw with Jankura, and then of course Cam Ruziak swinging at the first pitch and driving it deep into the gap in right center field, driving in the first 2 runs of this game. So Wachusett takes a 2-0 lead here in the top of the 3rd inning, looking for more. It's an 0-2 count to Gibbons now. Here is the pitch, and it's a little too far off the outside corner. The crowd here at Pheno Field quieted down after this quick rally for Wachusett. This really materialized out of nowhere, as now Avery sends a breaking ball in there that just misses low. It had good late movement on it, but dipping too far out of the strike zone. The count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. The next pitch on the way. This one well off the outside edge, and the count runs full. Gibbons also a strikeout victim back in his first at bat. Ruziak with his lead and foul ground off of third. The 3-2 pitch from Avery is swung on and missed. So he comes back to get Gibbons to end any further damage, but the big triple in the inning for Cam Ruziak scores the first 2 runs of the game, and Wachusett now with a 2-0 lead over Milford as we head to the bottom of the 3rd inning here on WMRC First Class Radio. Well, a very quick 2-out rally for Wachusett in the top half of this 3rd inning allows them to take a 2-0 lead. Milford once again having to play catch-up, as they will have batters 9, 1, and 2 coming up here in their half of the 3rd inning. Tanyan Ventris back out on the mound for Wachusett, now pitching with a lead, and he's dealt the first 2 pitches in for strikes to Kevin Lynch. Back into his windup. Here is the 0-2. It's hit hard to shortstop, but Connor Gill there to keep it off the dirt, making the catch on a line, and Lynch is retired for out number 1. Of course, a 2-0 deficit, not as large as the one Milford faced here at home last week against Leominster, down 4-0 after the top of the 3rd inning in that game. They were able to immediately come back and eventually earn the victory. As now Matt DeCina up for the 2nd time. He hits a slow ground ball up the middle. A nice rangy play behind the second base bag for Jordan Tevens, but no chance to get it to first base in time to get the out. A great job by Tevens to even get there to make a play on the ball. Slid on the knees almost behind the second base bag, grabbed the ball on the backhand. Tried to get a quick throw over to first base, but not there in time. It's an infield hit for DeCina, who is now 2 for 2. He was picked off trying to steal second base back in the 1st inning. So with 1 out and a man on, here's Andrew McMillan, who takes the first pitch for strike 1. We are in game number 1 of the Zone 4 finals between Milford and Wachusett. And McMillan now down in the count, 0-2. Andrew flew out to center field in his first at bat. Ventris ready with his next pitch. That one framed by Ruziak, drawing some oohs and ahs from the crowd as it was ruled just off the outside edge. Now 1-2 the count. DeCina leads off of first. Now a pickoff check over there, not quite the same move we saw from Ventris back in the 1st inning. DeCina easily back to the bag standing. Now the 1-2 pitch, this is hit on the ground foul. It gets past the first base coach's box. Travels down deep into foul territory, and the count will remain 1-2. This, of course, the only game going on in the zone. Every other team in Zone 4 now closed up for the year. As the 1-2 pitch drops in for a called strike 3. That one just nicking the bottom of the strike zone.
Now batting number 7, Dan.
Millen is down looking. 2 outs in the inning. DeCina remains at first base. Now for Dan Mantoni. Mantoni grounded out to third base in his first at bat. He'll wait to see a pitch, as Ventris will again toss over to first for a check-in on DeCina. Now sends a quick one over there, sidearm style. Again, DeCina is able to get back. Matt right back out to a big lead. Trying to draw the attention of Ventris, who now finally comes to the plate and deals the first pitch in too low to Mantoni. Dan overall on the season, hitting .420. He hits one on the ground again towards third base, played cleanly by Jancora. He throws over to first base in time to get the out. That ends the inning. Milford strands another base runner. They've now stranded 3 in the game. We've played 3 innings. And in this game number 1 of the Zone 4 finals, Wachusett leads 2-0 here on WMRC First Class Radio. Right back here at Pheno, where Dan Avery, as usual, wastes no time to get the inning started. The first pitch into Tanyan Ventris is hit on the ground towards shortstop. Mantoni there to make the play, and a good throw to first base to record the first out. Here in the top of the 4th inning, Ventris now 0 for 2. So 1 out and the base is empty, and now up to the plate comes Tim Post, the left fielder. Post swings at the first pitch and loops it out into left field, just touching down a foot or 2 into the outfield grass, but it is good for the 5th hit of the day for Post 42. And Tim Post is now 2 for 2 in this game, a pair of singles. For Dan Avery, the 3rd inning has not been kind to him so far in these playoffs. Of course, he allowed all 4 of the runs in his outing against Leominster last week in the 3rd inning, now allowing a 2-out, 2-run triple to Wachusett in the 3rd inning here tonight. He's allowed a 1-out single here in the top of the 4th. And now this ball is hit on the ground through the left side by Eric Sachs. That's through for a base hit. And outside of the triple, nothing has been particularly hard hit against Dan Avery so far. But nonetheless, well placed. That is now hit number 6. So Avery giving up a lot more hits in these 2 playoff games than he did during the regular season. But still, even taking these numbers tonight into account, he's only allowed a total of 38 hits on the year. And that's in 182 innings. He's gotten ahead of the number 9 hitter Whitmer, 0-2, now delivering a pitch that stays upstairs a little bit outside, and now the count goes to 1-2. The top of the order for Wachusett waiting on deck is now this one is hit on the ground to shortstop. Mantoni fires to second base out there. The throw to first gets there in time. 6-4-3. Milford turns the inning-ending double play. So just like that, the top of the 4th inning is done. And we head to the bottom half of the inning. Milford looking for some runs in this game. They trail Wachusett 2-0 here on playoff coverage of Milford Legion Baseball on First Class Radio. Kevin Martinez leading things off for Milford here in the bottom of the 4th inning. The Milford bench trying to ramp up some chatter to bring some momentum into this game. Milford trailing Wachusett by a score of 2-0 as now Martinez hits a line drive out to left field, but it hangs up just long enough for Tim Post to range in to make the catch. Hit well by Martinez, but obviously plenty of room in the outfield here in Pheno Field. It's Much different dimensions in the outfield here than what we see up in Leominster. The outfielders able to position themselves to try to prevent extra base hits. You really have to hit it into the gap, similar to what we saw out of Cam Ruziak earlier in this game, to have a legitimate chance at an extra base hit. Now up to the plate is Joe White. White with a count of 1 ball and 1 strike. He singled in his first at bat. 1 out and the base is empty here in the bottom of the 4th. The 1-1 pitch in from Tanyan Ventris is a called strike 2. Joe White, a solid contributor onto this number 5 spot in the batting order. Hit .284 for the season. Now hits a ground ball foul off the first base side.
3 tickets.
Joe White in the semifinal round, just 1 hit. He did have a walk and a run scored. He also stole a base against Leominster. Gets ready for a 1-2 pitch now from Ventris. He hits it in the air out to left center field. Ranging over is Whitmer, and it ends up being the left fielder Tim Post who makes the catch. Whitmer was in a full-out sprint over into the gap to try to track that one down, but Post with the easier play, he makes it. And the first 2 are retired for Milford here in the bottom of the 4th. 2 outs to left field, and now it's up to Michael Ryan, the catcher. He struck out looking in his first at bat. Takes a look at ball 1 from Ventris. 1-0 the count. Here's the pitch. Up high for ball 2. If you had a chance to listen to the Sports Buzz yesterday, Matt Romling and I having a discussion about this Wachusett pitching staff, mentioning the 3 quality arms that they can produce. And again, you heard it from Coach Tidman, who said he doesn't really consider himself to have a 1, 2, or 3. He can throw these guys out there in any order he wants, and he's equally confident that they will get the job done. Tanyan Ventris, the arm we have not seen yet, pitching well so far. He's got a 3-1 count here to Michael Ryan, who lofts a foul ball that just touches down on top of the visitors' dugout down the third base line. And the count runs full. 3 balls and 2 strikes now with 2 outs and the base is empty. Ryan ready to see another pitch. Here it is, and it is outside and high for ball 4. And Ryan is able to extend this inning with a 2-out walk. It is just the first walk allowed by Tanyan Ventris in this game. And now we'll give Cam Cosette a chance to come to the plate. Cam with a single in his first at bat. He is 1 for 1. Cam went 1 for 8 in the semifinal round. Looks at the first pitch high and away for ball 1. Ventris settles now from the stretch. His pitch is swung on and missed. Post 59 with a good batting practice session before the game, and a tradition they have taken on in the last few playoff games, a round of pepper prior to the start of the game, which started, I believe, with only about 5 players when it began last week against Leominster, but nearly the entire team out there before the game getting involved in the game. As now Cam Cosette lofts a pitch out to right field. In his tracks, Eric Sachs is there to make the catch, and that is it. Here in the bottom of the 4th inning, Milford strands their 4th base runner of the game, and we have now played 4 innings from Pheno Field. It is a 2-0 lead for Wachusett here in Game 1 of the Zone 4 Finals, which you were listening to here on WMRC First Class Radio. Connor Gill, Jordan Tevens, and Dan Jancura, that is the trio expected here in the top of the 5th inning. Dan Avery back out there to pitch, and his first offering is popped up foul. Giving a look is Kevin Martinez as well as the catcher Michael Ryan, but that one well out of play. It goes as a first pitch strike to Connor Gill, who has been held off the bases so far in 2 trips to the plate. He flied out back in the first, struck out swinging in the 3rd. Avery ready with his 0-1 pitch now. Here it is. This is hit in the air out to right field, but a good read for Cam Cosette. He ranges in to make the catch. And Gill now 0 for 3.
Now batting number 21, Jordan Stevens.
And here is Stevens. Jordan singled back in the 3rd inning. It ended up being an infield single that he was able to just beat out at first base. Swings and misses at the first pitch here in this at-bat, and that ended up being significant. His infield single quickly followed by another hit by Dan Jankura, and then it was the big hit in the ball game so far, the 2-run triple by Cam Ruziak, and that is the difference in the game. Wachusett leading 2-0. Avery back up on the pitching rubber. Goes into his windup. Here's his next pitch now to Stevens. It is waved at and missed for strike 3. It again briefly gets away from Michael Ryan, but has no trouble swinging it down to Kevin Martinez at first to complete the out. So now 2 outs here in the top of the 5th inning, and that strikeout for Avery is number 6 of the game. Pitching now to Dan Jankura with 2 outs and the bases empty. Here is the first pitch. It's hit hard on the ground. A diving grab made by Andrew McMillan at 3rd. Gets to his feet, throws to 1st, and gets it there in time for the out. A terrific play at 3rd base for Andrew McMillan. Airborne into the dive. A great play, and it is a 1-2-3 top of the 5th inning for Milford Post 59. They try to turn things around at the plate when we return, trailing 2-0 here on WMRC First Class Radio. Hope we can award that player of the game to a player on Post 59, but they will need to generate some offense here as we're starting to get into the late stages of this game, and Milford trailing Wachusett 2-0. Lake Hill leading things off in this bottom of the 5th inning, a count of 1-1. And now hits this pitch out to left field. Ranging towards the line is Tim Post. Just a step in fair territory, he's able to make the catch. And Hill is retired for out number 1. And as always, we want to point out that when we award our Pepperoncini's player of the game, we make sure our listeners keep track. And if you listen to WMRC Daybreak Monday through Friday and the Sports Buzz on Saturday, they will ask you for that Pepperoncini's player of the game from the previous night's action. If you have the correct name, you can call in and win a $25 gift certificate to Pepperoncini's Pizzeria and Grill. As now Kevin Lynch sends one softly in the air out to right field. That's going to drop in just in front of Eric Sachs. He was coming in hard. Also ranging out was Stevens, the second baseman. But it drops in between them, a bloop single. Milford in need of some base runners. They're able to get one here, and Kevin Lynch, it also puts good speed on the bases ahead of the top of the lineup as Matt DeCina now will come to the plate for the 3rd time. He has reached base twice so far. A pair of singles for Matt. Here now is the first pitch. It's in the dirt. 1-0 the count to DeCina. DeCina caught stealing back in the 1st, but still he's been on base twice. Takes the 1-0 pitch. It just grabs the outside edge, and it evens the count at 1. Last bits of sunlight fading off in the distance here at Pheno Field. But by far our biggest crowd of the year, hoping to see some late inning heroics here for Milford, as now DeCina lofts one out into center field, but this will hang up long enough for Whitmer to come in to make the catch. And now there are 2 outs. Kevin Lynch remains at first base with 2 outs, and now Andrew McMillan comes to the plate looking to break through. Went 4 for 5 in the semifinal round against Leominster, but so far 0 for 2 tonight with a strikeout. Milford's leader in batting average throughout this 2014 season, bringing a batting average of .493 into the ball game today. That's overall, regular season and playoffs combined. Now batting with a count of 1 ball and 1 strike. Lynch leads at first. He's held on by the first baseman for Wachusett, Owen Gibbons, as the pitch from Ventris into McMillan drops in too low, and the count goes to 2-1. McMillan hoping to get on ahead of the 3-4 hitters in the Milford lineup. Mantoni and Martinez both hoping for a chance to bat in this bottom of the 5th inning. It's now a 3-ball, 1-strike count to Andrew McMillan. Ventris so far has allowed just 5 hits in the game. Here's the 3-1 pitch. It's swung on and missed. They now send a snap throw over to first base, and Tessina's able to get back. Kevin Lynch able to get back. And that now fills the count 3-2 on McMillan with 2 outs. Lynch goes, the pitch is hit hard to third base, but the catch is made there by Dan Jankura. He dove for it. That one ticketed for left field, but denied by a nice defensive play by Jankura, and that will end this bottom of the 5th inning. And right now, Wachusett really firing on all cylinders in this game. Through 5 innings now from Pheno Field, and Post 42 has the 2-0 advantage. Playoff coverage here on WMRC First Class Radio. Well, we've seen nice defense turned in from both third basemen in this game. A diving play by Andrew McMillan to end the top half of the 5th inning, and we saw the same thing in the bottom half of the 5th with Dan Jankura robbing McMillan of a 2-out single, and oddly enough, both third basemen robbing each other of base hits. And so now we head on here to the top of the 6th inning, already now into the late innings. Dan Avery returns to the mound once again, dealing with Cam Ruziak. And as always, Avery very quick to get the innings started. He's already got a 1-2 count on Ruziak. Right now, Cam, the man who has the hit that's made the difference in the ball game, that 2-run triple back in inning number 3. This time he lofts a fly ball in the air out to right field. No problem for Cam Cosette to make the catch. 1 up and 1 down. Dan Avery has been good in this game. 6 hits allowed now over 5 1/3 innings. He also has 6 strikeouts, but those 3 consecutive hits in the 3rd inning, all with 2 outs, ended up really hurting him. And you just think back to how agonizingly close Milford was to getting out of that inning in 1-2-3 fashion. That ground ball hit by Jordan Tevens to shortstop. Mantoni doing everything he could do, charging in, throwing off balance, but just could not get enough on the throw to beat Tevens. And then 2 batters later, the 2-run triple that is responsible for all the runs in the game, as now Owen Gibbons hits a ground ball to third base. A much easier play this time around for Andrew McMillan. He makes the play. 5-3 on the ground out, and there are 2 away here in the 6th inning. Dan Avery has now retired the last 6 consecutive batters. And now Tanyan Ventris swinging at the first pitch. It gets underneath the glove of Andrew McMillan, and this will allow Ventris to reach. And it's been those kind of breaks throughout this game that Wachusett has had in their favor. Milford has not. Just a well-placed ground ball. Ranging over towards the shortstop side was McMillan, but it snuck under his glove. And Ventris will reach on the single. Now Tim Post, who has already had a couple of hits in the game, he comes up to the plate. The lefty batter against the righty throwing Dan Avery. Takes the first pitch for ball one. For Ventris, this is the second time he has reached. He reached on an error by Andrew McMillan earlier in the game, so he's managed to sneak his way on base at McMillan's expense now twice. 1 ball and 1 strike the count. The next pitch into Post is hit in the air, foul off to the left. That one arcing its way out of play and into the woods. And the count goes to 1-2. The lights on here at Pheno Field. This very large crowd continues to look on anxiously. It's eerily quiet out there in the stands. A 2-0 lead for Wachusett now all the way into the 6th inning. The 1-2 pitch from Avery is hit on the ground to shortstop. Andrew McMillan cuts in front of Mantoni to make the play, and he makes the throw to first base in time for the out that ends the inning. So almost a mix-up there on the left side of the infield, but McMillan takes charge, makes the play, and ends the inning. So we head to the bottom of the 6th. Time starting to run thin for Milford to orchestrate a comeback. They trail Wachusett 2-0 here on coverage of Milford Legion Baseball in the Zone 4 Finals here on First Class Radio. It is the middle of this Milford order coming to the plate here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Only about 65 minutes into this matchup, already now into the 6th inning. It's been a crisply played game, well pitched on both sides, but right now that run total tipping in Wachusett's favor. They have the 2-0 lead. Tanyan Ventris back out there on the mound. He's dealing with a 1 ball, 1 strike count to Dan Mantoni, who has done the same thing twice so far tonight. That is ground out to third base. Now 2-1 the count. Ventris has done an excellent job pitching to contact, trusting his defense to make the plays, and they have done it. But this time, Mantoni's able to elevate the pitch, and he drops it out into left field for a leadoff single. We'll see if that breathes a little life into this Post 59 team, who has been quiet tonight. Not only at the plate, but in the dugout as well. This is a team who usually is full of chatter from the sidelines. But they have been a little quiet, perhaps due to the fact that they respect this opponent. They know this is a team that beat them a couple of times in the regular season. Now here is Kevin Martinez, who takes the first pitch up and away for ball 1. Kevin has been held off the bases tonight in 2 trips to the plate, a pop out to right and a line out to left field. It's a ground ball now, foul down the first base line, and it's an even count of 1 ball and 1 strike. Martinez looks down to Coach DeVito in the third base coach's box before he steps up to the plate. Here is the 1-1 pitch. It's in for a called strike 2. Kevin with 2 long home runs against Leominster. Here is the 1-2 pitch. It's hit in the air out to right field, but not deep. Over his sacks. He's there to make the catch. And Martinez now 0 for 3. He's tested Eric Sachs out in right field twice so far tonight. He's made the play each time. 1 down now here in the 6th inning. Mantoni remains at first base now for Joe White, who is 1 for 2. A single and a pop out. Swings at a breaking ball here on the first pitch from Ventris. Hits it in the air out to center field, but it hangs up for Whitmer to make the catch. And quickly there are 2 outs. And all of a sudden now it is the Wachusett fans who have shown up for the game here tonight, who are starting to make more noise than the Pheno faithful, applauding that second out on the Wachusett side. Now it's up to Michael Ryan. If the inning continues, the first pitch drops in for a ball. It gets away from Ruziak, and that allows Mantoni to make it down into scoring position. This is only the 2nd time in the game that Milford has had a runner reach second base. Joe White made it down to second back in the 2nd inning, but that is it. Facing a very tough pitcher, Tanyan Ventris. 2-0 the count to Ryan. Now the pitch misses inside. 3-0 the count. Should the inning continue, Cam Cosette would be the next batter. Antoni leads at second. Here's the pitch. Ryan takes all the way, and he takes a called strike. Ryan has struck out and walked in the game. Here is the 3-1 pitch. It's hit in the air out to right center field. A long run for Sachs, still running. He dives, and he makes the catch. Sachs had a long way to go into the gap, but he was able to dive and make the grab and hang on as he hit the turf out there. Another excellent play by this Wachusett defense, who has been on all game long. And Milford strands a runner in scoring position. They have now stranded 6 runners in the game, and we head to the 7th inning. Milford still scoreless. They trail Wachusett in this game by a score of 2-0 here on WMRC First Class Radio. Post 59 has had at least one base runner on in every inning of this game, but they have yet to see a man cross the plate. They have not yet even seen a man reach third, as now the first batter for Wachusett in this top of the 7th inning. Eric Sachs drives one deep out into right field, but Cam Cosette had it all the way. He makes the catch for the first out of the inning. And it hasn't been for lack of trying on the Milford side. They have hit some balls well in this game, but you really have to credit the Wachusett defense. They have been phenomenal. Some great diving plays made in the infield, a tremendous catch made out in the gap in right center by Eric Sachs to end the last half inning. And it remains a 2-0 game in favor of Post 42. 1 out deep here in the top of the 7th. Dan Avery continuing to pitch for Milford. Ahead of Kevin Whitmer, 1-2. Continuing to keep up a good pace as now this one is lofted out to shallow right field. That's going to drop down for a base hit. Whitmer able to grab the 8th Wachusett hit of the night. And that puts a man on ahead of the leadoff hitter Connor Gill, who has been frustrated by Avery tonight. He flew out to center in the first, struck out swinging in the third, lined out to right field in the 5th. The first pitch up high. And a little chatter now coming out of the Wachusett dugout. I mentioned it in the previous half inning. It has been surprisingly quiet in the Milford dugout in this game. They have been a raucous group in the latter part of this season, but they have been quiet. The fans have been quiet as well. Not a lot offensively to cheer for Milford, as Wachusett has controlled the pace of this game. 1-1 the count to Connor Gill. It will likely be Gill or Owen Gibbons that we see in game number 2 tomorrow night. We did not get a clear indication from Coach Tidman before the game. But right now, Wachusett 3 outs away from taking a 1-0 advantage back to their home ballpark. Wachusett playing their home games at Wachusett Regional High School. That is where game number 2 will be tomorrow night. Here's the 2-1 pitch. The runner bluffs down the line as this one is hit out to right. It drops down for a base hit. Going from first to third on the play is Whitmer. So a little bit of a hit and run put on. Whitmer had stopped halfway down the line, but then got a good read seeing that that was going to drop in front of Cosette. So then turned on the jets and was able to go from first to third on the single by Connor Gill. So now he's on base for the first time. It puts runners at the corners here in the top of the 7th inning with only 1 out. And Jordan Tevens coming to the plate. A quick visit between Michael Ryan and Dan Avery. Ryan on his way back to the plate, but now Coach DeVito wants to come out and talk things over, and it looks like he has David Sampson in tow, so this is going to be the game for Dan Avery here. He will take the baseball after 6 1/3 innings from Avery. He gets a round of applause from the crowd here. He pitched well, made one mistake in the game, and it was on the pitch that Ruziak hit for a 2-run triple, and that continues to be the difference in the game. But Wachusett looking to grab some insurance runs here with 2 aboard and only 1 out in the top of the 7th. We'll take a quick break for the pitching change. More when we come back here on coverage of Milford Legion baseball on First Class Radio. The new pitcher on for Post 59 is David Sampson. Sampson now making his 6th appearance of 2014. We last saw him pitch the final 2 innings of Game 1 of the semifinals. Ended up pitching 2 scoreless innings, was able to retire all 6 men he faced. Now inherits runners at the corners with 1 out here in the top of the 7th inning. Milford looking to keep the deficit right where it is at 2 runs to give themselves a reasonable chance in the bottom half of this inning. Sampson's first pitch into Jordan Tevens is strike 1. Tevens 1 for 3. The 0-1 pitch from Sampson using that good hard fastball, but this time misses low, and the count evens at 1 ball and 1 strike. Sampson with an ERA of 2.00 on the season. Has a 2-0 record. His 1-1 pitch took a little something off. That one missed inside, and the count now 2-1. Sampson with 6 strikeouts on the season. The runner takes off for second base. The pitch is low. The throw is lofted out towards second base by Michael Ryan. It looked like he may have been bluffing the pickoff throw, aiming that one to go back to Sampson. Instead, it kind of fluttered all the way out towards second base where Joe White was able to field it. No advance from the man at third, but it's a steal for Connor Gill. He's now in scoring position at second, and it's a 3-1 count to the batter. Tevens now takes a big swing and a miss at that pitch, and that will run the count full. So Gill with the first stolen base of the game for Post 42. Puts 2 men in scoring position, and a big pitch coming up for Sampson. 3 balls and 2 strikes, the count on Jordan Tevens. The pitch is swung on and missed for strike 3. Sampson needed it. Gets his first strikeout to the first batter he faces coming out of the bullpen. 2 outs now in the inning, but not out of the woods yet. Now having to face the number 3 hitter in the Wachusett order, Dan Jankura, who singled and scored a run in the game. Swings and misses at the first pitch for strike 1. Jankura and Tevens both coming around to score on that 2-run triple by Ruziak. The 0-1 pitch on the way from Sampson, too low. Sampson trying to keep that fastball low in the zone. An even count of 1-1. The runners lead off of second and third. This pitch is popped up in foul ground. Ranging over is Michael Ryan. It stays on the field of play. Ryan loses his balance at the end, but he manages to make the catch for the out that ends the inning. So a nice job out of the bullpen for Sampson. He does not allow a run to come home to score. So Milford will indeed maintain the 2-0 deficit into the bottom of the 7th inning. But work to do if they hope to grab a win here. They will need to come from behind. We'll see if they can do it on the other side of this break. Stay tuned to coverage of Milford Legion baseball here on First Class Radio. Two runs, 9 hits, no errors for Wachusett, no runs, 5 hits, and 1 error for Milford Post 59. As now they try to make a comeback in the 7th inning. They send pinch hitter Scott DeCapua up to lead things off, but he swings at the first pitch and pops it up to center field. The catch made by Whitmer in 1 pitch, and there is 1 out here in the 7th inning. It is actually 6 hits in the game for Post 59. They were able to grab a single to lead things off in the 6th, but they could not bring that runner around. 1 out and the base is clear here in the bottom of the 7th, and now it is Blake Hill who swings at the first pitch. He pops it up in foul ground down the third base line. Over there was Jankura just in front of the dugout, but he could not hold on. The ball bounces in the dirt in front of the dugout, and Blake Hill very fortunate to have an opportunity to finish this at bat. Jankura trying to stay on the field of play. Once you cross that chalk line in front of the dugout, can no longer make the catch. He was there to make the play but could not secure it. But now Hill with a swing and a miss, and he's down in the count, 0-2. After scoring 10 runs in Game 1 against Leominster and 8 runs in Game 2. They have been held completely off the scoreboard, and right now, Wachusett in position to shut Milford out for the second time this season. They did so back in their first meeting of the regular season. Here is the 1-2 pitch against Hill, and it is on the outside corner for a called strike 3. And again, the Wachusett fans getting rowdy here. You can see the excitement on their faces. A win here on the road, just 1 out away. And it's all up to the number 9 hitter in the lineup, Kevin Lynch, if we are to continue. The first pitch misses high and outside for ball 1. Lynch 1 for 2 in the game. He singled in his last at bat back in the 5th. Now takes a pitch that grabs a piece of the inside corner to bring the count to 1-1. Again, Game 2 would be tomorrow night in Holden. As now Lynch sends a foul ball on a line to the backstop. Milford quickly down to their final strike. And out on the first pitch to lead off the 7th inning. Then the strikeout for Blake Hill, and now a 1-2 count on Kevin Lynch. Here's the next pitch from Tanyan Ventris. It's hit on the ground towards shortstop. Playable there for Connor Gill. He throws to first base, and that is the ball game. A 1-2-3 inning for Milford here in the bottom of the 7th, and they drop game number 1 of this Zone 4 final. Wachusett wins it. They shut out Milford by a final score of 2-0. So again, the offense just could not get anything going. A great performance by the starting pitcher, Tanyan Ventris, for Wachusett, who claims the second complete game shutout for Wachusett pitching against Milford on this 2014 year. And it's going to be gut check time for Milford in game number 2, as they will be facing elimination for the first time in these playoffs when they take on Wachusett on the road tomorrow night in Holden. But before we get there, we will recap this game in our Milford Nissan postgame show when we return here on coverage of Milford Legion Baseball on First Class Radio.